Urgent. Walker Kessler at Celtics. What has been confirmed urgent? Celtics Nation, pay attention. Very hot news has emerged about Walker Kessler, and I'll tell you what was confirmed. No nonsense. Before. Think about the impact of this on the bottle, the extra possessions, the fit with Tatum and Brown, and the real price of this move. Stay with me because in seconds I reveal the key part of this story. What is fact, what is still rumor, and how this changes Boston's rotation in the coming weeks. Prepared? So come on. Here's exactly what we know now. If this has made you curious, like now, so this video can reach more Celts, and subscribe. Here you will receive confirmations first. Activate the bell so you don't miss the next steps of this possible exchange. Let's hit 5,000 likes, so I bring the complete analysis of Kessler's impact on the rotation. Now, without stopping, let's get to what was confirmed. If you're a Boston Celtics fan, or simply someone who likes well-played basketball, you've probably felt that pang in your chest in recent months. It's not just apprehension, it's a persistent discomfort, a buzzing in the back of your head that doesn't let you rest. Do you understand me? It's the mixture of expectation and fear that accompanies every giant franchise when one of those moments approaches that define not only the season, but the team's identity for years to come. And that's what I want to talk to you about today, face to face, bluntly. What does Boston want to be now? What's the price of staying big when everything seems to conspire to shrink you? Let's start at the beginning of this recent story. The Celtics experienced a sequence of decisions and events that took essential pieces off the board. Exits in the front court opened rotation craters. At the same time, the injury to the Achilles tendon of the player around whom the attack and culture revolve, a protagonist who, when he steps on the court, changes the weight of his shirt, cast a long shadow over the immediate future. It's hard to even write, and the city feels it. On the streets around TD Garden, in bars that breathe the NBA, in message groups, the question always seems to be the same. Can you sustain your ambition without betraying your own history? Then comes a name that, if you follow the league closely, must have already crossed your timeline with insistence: Walker Kessler. Tall, young, with the profile of a classic rim protector, accurate timing, and a defensive reading that disarms infiltrations like someone putting out a fire before the first crack scares him. Kessler is not an empty promise. It's a logical fit for a team that needs to rebuild the base, reset the bricks in the bottle, and put a safety lock on a system that, due to the reconfiguration itself, tends to accelerate. And why the urgency? Because the NBA clock shows no mercy. While we discuss what would be reasonable to do, another traditional opponent, who wears yellow and purple and loves the spotlight, does what he has always done: tests limits, probes scenarios, measures Boston's willingness to defend its symbolic territory. You've already seen this film. When there is a big name available, when a piece seems decisive to rebalance the board, historical rivals take notice, and everything becomes a question of timing, boldness, cost, conviction. But is it worth paying, you may be asking? And how far should we go for reinforcement, even if the fit seems custom-made? Let's go in parts, because the answer lies in the combination of three layers: identity, strategy, and arithmetic. First, identity. The Celtics are an institution forged from two materials: discipline and ambition. Discipline builds systems that work. Ambition turns these systems into securities. In times of stability, the team learned to impose a standard of defensive excellence that supported any bad shooting night. When the three-ball didn't fall, the defense kept the score under control. When the rotation gave way, the bottle held the brakes. It was like that for years. The departure of pieces and the injury of the main scorer mess up this mosaic. But be careful. Messing up is not destroying. That's where the second layer comes in: strategy. There is a declared movement to accelerate the pace, to push the court, to transform each defense into an early attack and each rebound into a quick exit. This reimagining is no mere whim. It's adaptation, perhaps the only way to maintain a competitive advantage in a season that begins with limitations. If the proposal is to run, you need someone who, at the back, compensates for the boldness. A reliable rim protector doubles as the life jacket that allows the team to jump out of the boat to tackle higher waves. Without this vest, any mistake is very costly. With him, the team breathes better, and Kessler offers just that: margin for error, the possibility of making aggressive mistakes without falling into the abyss. Finally, arithmetic. Kessler's current contract is short-term friendly, which makes financial engineering easier. But there is a C inevitable oncoming. If the plan works, if it actually raises the team's ceiling, the next agreement will weigh heavily. There is no such thing as a free lunch in the NBA, and you know as well as I do that the market always pays dearly for rarity. What is the rarity here? A young pivot with an immediate impact, with above-average defensive ability and potential for growth in a high-value area, rim protection, pick-and-roll coverage, vertical defense without making a foul. It's scarce, and the scarce costs. It makes sense? He does. Does it scare you? Also. And it's okay to be scared. Important decisions always carry a share of fear. When we talk about pay, however, we are not just discussing salary. The real cost is measured in assets, draft picks, swaps, young players in development, future flexibility. This is when the question becomes delicate. How much of tomorrow is worth giving up to save today? And how much does today, saved, drive tomorrow? Because a squad with an anchor in the tank, even in a year of transition, maintains a competitive standard, maintains culture, maintains expectation of victory. And culture has a compound effect. It attracts veterans on smaller contracts. It makes young people believe in the process. It protects the locker room from the cynicism that sometimes sets in when defeat becomes routine. Let's imagine the impact on the court. With Kessler, the passing lines on the perimeter can thicken. Wing defenders gain license to press the ball, knowing there is a guardian behind them. Notice how this connects with the new rhythm proposal. Pressing generates turnovers, turnovers generate speed attacks, and attacking with speed reduces dependence on half courts, which is especially useful when someone of the caliber of your main creator is absent. It's a positive domino effect. When he catches the rebound and releases the ball at chest height to begin the counterattack, the team saves precious seconds. When he changes shots at the rim, even without the stump, he shortens opposing attacking series and reduces long offensive possessions that wear down the squad. Does it look like detail? Add 48 minutes of details and you have the skeleton of a victory. On the other side of the scale, it is honest to face the risks. Bringing him in now, even with the prospect of heavy investment ahead, traps Boston on a path with little margin for error. It means assuming that the front office will get the right compliments, that the committee will adapt schemes without forcing the player to do what is not his best vocation, and that the locker room will embrace the adjustment. It also means accepting that, if he costs 2 first-round picks and another youngster, that window for error becomes even narrower. Is it a risk? But risk alone says nothing. What matters is the risk-reward ratio. And here's my point with you. Boston's reward, right now, is not just winning today. It's about protecting the winning culture. It is to prevent a season of turbulence from turning into a narrative of decline. It's preventing the team from going into next year needing to rebuild everything from scratch. When a group believes it can compete, each training session has purpose. Each match, even those in November and December, carries good urgency. It's the spark that makes big franchises stay big. I also want to bring the cast's perspective. Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and Peyton Pritchard will not shrink from the responsibility. There is a competitive core there which thrives on challenge. Giving them a solid defensive axis is like handing a well-sharpened tool to someone who already knows how to work with wood. The final product comes out with a better finish, with less wasted effort. And you, who watch, notice. The ball moves lighter, the court seems bigger, the attack doesn't contract after 3 bad possessions, because there is a mattress in defense, and this mattress is psychological too. What about rivals? I see 2 layers of rivalry here. The first is the classic, from the other side of the country, which is part of the league's mythology. The second is silent within the conference itself, with teams that have learned to attack Boston's dead zone in the paint when the rotations loosen. Every possession, every best-of-7 series in the immediate future depends on details like this. Who contests without foul? Who gets the safety rebound? Who resets the defense after an aggressive closeout? Kessler answers these questions the right way. The opponent knows they will need a second offensive plan. And when you force your rival to live off your plan B, half the work has already been done. Let's talk about cost, calmly and objectively. How many draft picks is a tweak like that worth? You can ask me. The short answer is, it depends on the protection, the package involved, the market, and, most importantly, conviction. An unprotected first-round pick is a much heavier commitment than 2 picks with reasonable protections. A swap can be smart if the front office trusts consistency of the cast in the coming years. Including a rising young player may be acceptable if his position is congested and the pivot's fit solves a structural deficiency. It's negotiation, and negotiation is chess. But in the end, the calculation comes back to the same place. What is Kessler's marginal impact on your game plan? If he unlocks the new rhythm, if he strengthens the identity, if he holds the team in tight games, then there is a sporting value that justifies the mathematics. Let me tell you something I learned from following the league for so long. Great teams, when they get the right tone, invest in what they are, not in what they would like to be. The Celtics, when they are at their best, are physical, collective, intense in defense, and intelligent in half-court readings. Accelerating does not mean abandoning these foundations. It means putting them at the service of a plan that recognizes what the moment calls for. And the moment, for me, calls for courage to attack the team's most evident need, a reliable anchor to rebalance the tank. You who have been there with me until now, tell me, does it make sense to look at Kessler and see not just a player but a project? Because that's what he represents. A project of rim protection, tactical discipline, silent efficiency that translates into victories. It's not the kind of reinforcement that will be on the cover for points scored on a gala night, but it's the kind of piece that changes the tone of a playoff series, that resists the opponent's adjustments and keeps the team within the plan even when the attack stalls. And about the fear of making mistakes, it's legitimate. It's part of the game. But remember that making mistakes through inaction is also a mistake. Waiting too long, losing your timing, letting another rival occupy the available space. This has a huge invisible cost. It costs morale. It costs market perception. It costs time, which is the scarcest commodity when you have a squad with declared ambitions. This is where the board needs to answer the question I asked at the beginning. What does Boston want to be now? If the answer is competitive in any scenario, then the action needs to match the promise. Before heading into the final stretch, I want to address a tactical point that I consider crucial: the fit with the main ball handlers and wingers. A pivot with a profile to seal the stump, plant himself in the drop, and play as an anchor allows creators to work in the half-court more lightly. Firmer screens, more timed dives, air bridges as escape valves, and above all, psychological spacing. Defenders do not dare to completely abandon the dunker spot. This opens up half a step for the mid-range pull-up, for the diagonal infiltration, for the corner three after drive and kick. A good big not only takes up physical space, it organizes tactical space. And the human aspect? Count on me not to ignore this. Young players anchored by clear roles develop better. They know what the team expects of them. They build routines. They measure progress using objective metrics: fouls per minute, contest percentage, 50-50 rebound appropriation, communication in coverage. Kessler, from what you can see in his profile, is not the type of center who needs 15 designed plays a night to feel like he belongs. He makes an impact with what the game delivers. And that's gold for a squad that may need to change rotation, adjust minutes, and absorb fluctuations in performance over the course of a long season. We then come to the inevitable question from my channel. For those of you who follow me, what is the acceptable limit of draft capital to attempt this jump? I will open my vision with transparency, so the conversation can be fair. I advocate a package that involves a first-round pick with reasonable protection, another first-round pick with staggered protection, and, at most, a conditional futures swap. No giving up the entire margin for a single move. Why? Because this balances risk and return. It gives Boston a chance to strengthen the present without turning the future into a roulette wheel with no chips. If the market demands more than that, I would only cross this line if I was fully convinced that the fit, evolution, and cap plan for the next contract will be protected. Conviction, not hope. Notice how this debate is bigger than a name. It's about how a franchise reacts when its ideal script is interrupted. It's about choosing, at a crossroads, the path that honors one's own history without repeating formulas that no longer apply to the current cast. It's about admitting that a year of transition doesn't have to be a year of resignation. You can compete while rewriting the plan. And often, it is precisely through competition that you learn what needs to be rewritten. If you've made it this far, I want to thank you and invite you to continue this conversation with me. Because sports, and especially the NBA, are made up of these decisions that start in the tactical framework, go through the contracts department, and end up, inevitably, in the heart of the fan. I believe that Walker Kessler could be the piece that gives the Celtics the strategic serenity necessary to get through difficult nights, maintain the demanding standard, and prepare the ground for when the protagonist returns. I also believe that boldness without calculation is not courage, it's carelessness. And that's why discussing the cost, protecting the picks, and the roster architecture around it is as important as the excitement about the fit. And now I want to hear you. If the decision were in your hands, would you go all out? Are you willing to build this gift with a protected first-round pick, another slightly protected pick, and a cautious swap? Would you accept including a young player in the rotation if it lowered the requirement to protect picks? Or would you prefer to preserve the future, bet on internal development, and wait for the market to offer a similar profile for a lower price, running the risk of seeing a rival? Capitalize on this window? Leave your comment below. Bring your proposal, explain your protections, say which piece you would include or keep out of the package. Let's build this analysis together with respect to the shirt, the history, and the intelligence of those who really follow the league. If this content helped you see the dimensions of this decision more clearly, give it a like to strengthen the work. Send it to that friend who discusses cap head-on, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next chapters. Because, believe me, this soap opera will still pay off. And the final question, to spark the debate. Considering the potential for a hefty futures contract, what is the most draft capital you would honestly put on the table to bring in Walker Kessler right now? Is an unprotected first round too much? Do two protégés seem fair to you? Does a swap solve it? I want your vision. The house is ours. The microphone is in the middle of the table, and the game, this game that we love, remains open. And now, take a deep breath and choose your side of the story. Will Boston cower under the pressure, or will it turn this storm into fuel for the next big upset? If you've made it this far, it's because you feel the weight of this moment as much as I do. So, let's make some noise, because the decision the front office makes in the coming weeks could redraw the NBA map. This is the kind of crossroads that separates those who talk about greatness from those who actually build it. If you want to go beyond this video and delve deeper into everything that surrounds the Celtics, tactics, cap, behind the scenes, and the adjustments that no one is seeing, I have prepared a complete sequence of episodes for you to marathon without missing a second of what matters. Click on the playlist now, Celtics Analysis 0, and come with me to dissect scenarios, simulate packages, design rotations, and understand how each piece can impact the season. Don't leave it for later. Enter Celtics Analyses now, leave your like, subscribe, and activate notifications. The next review could fall the very minute the league turns upside down, and you'll want to be on the front lines of that conversation. Did you leave?